See ya.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you. I hope, can you hear me at the back? Thank you so much for coming. It's great to see so many friends from so many different parts of my life. There are racier parts, there are more sedate parts, there are all sorts.
Didn't you point at me on the more sedate parts?
I'm the racy part.
Yeah. Well, After the Rains has taken me a long time to write. I started writing it in 2000 during the land seizures in Zimbabwe. I found that I'd left Zimbabwe in 1980, and it had been a very sad experience leaving after the war, and I think I spent 2 years getting over leaving Zimbabwe and coming to terms with living in South Africa. But I found that during the land seizures in 2000, I started to go through a kind of sorrowing process where just it all kind of came back, and I started to make sense of what had happened through writing. And after I left, I think I suffered from quite a lot of white guilt. I don't know if you relate to this, Fee, but because of the politics in Zimbabwe and all the segregation and stuff, I really rejected that part of me, I think. And so what I wanted to do with this book was look at both sides of the war. So I chose characters who were on opposing sides and tried to look at how things really were for them. And in doing so, I actually did come to admire aspects of my own people. Not everything. I still didn't necessarily agree with the politics, but I certainly, came to accept that part of my life and really embrace it again, I think. So it was cathartic for me, and I know a lot of Zimbabweans have found that to be the case as well. But it's not just for Zimbabweans. I think it's got quite a lot of universal appeal, and that's the kind of feedback I'm getting from people from all sorts of different countries and all different walks of life. So the family, people often say to me, is it based on your experience? I'd say it's based on collective experience. So the family is not my family, but certainly some of the events in the book did touch my life quite profoundly. So it is a work of fiction, but certainly there are things in this country, in this book, that affected all of us, and that if you've been there, you'll recognise. So I'm going to read a section of the book. Basically, it opens in the Eastern Highlands of Rhodesia at the time, and the family are living on a farm, and they come to have to leave the farm because the war gets really heated. And I'm going to read the part of the book where the farm actually comes under attack. So it's quite a dramatic bit of the book, but on my son's recommendation, that's the bit I'm going to read. Right. Halfway through the night, I wake to the sound of the cattle stirring, but go back to sleep as rain begins to fall. Then it comes again, a cracking sound. My throat is dry. I hesitate, trying to decide whether to wake Mum or not, when a shuffling sound, followed by the low moan of cattle, makes me fling my legs over the side of the bed. I look down at my feet, trying to think calmly like Dad would tell me, trying to hear his instructions in my swimmy head. The cattle shuffle sometimes when it's going to rain. I listen for the dogs but can't hear them bark. With wet palms, I sit sideways for a moment, my heart bouncing round my chest like a rubber ball. Then I hear a soaring, swishing sound, followed by an explosion. My senses scatter like dropped pins. I leap out of bed and into the passage. Mom's bedroom door is thrown wide open. She comes out in one of Dad's t-shirts and her pants, an FN rifle slung over her shoulders. In her hands is the Uzi and a couple of magazines. She hands me a magazine, then pushes the other into the pistol grip of the Uzi and hands it to me. Check on John, Jay. She goes up the passage towards the lounge. The gun is a dead weight in my hands. Mom whips round. Don't, under any circumstances, turn any lights on. And when you come into the lounge, crawl. And Jay, I may need you to reload for me. In his bedroom, his head almost completely covered by blankets, John sleeps like the dead. The hand grenade mesh over the window shadows itself on his blanket. In the lounge, framed by an oblong of light from the moon, Mum half lies, half sits beneath the low wall, underneath the windows that divide lounge from veranda. Her rifle on the inner windowsill, the nose aimed out through the burglar bars over the front lawn. Swishing sounds and lots of clicks come from beyond the direction of the veranda. Then the sky explodes into a firework display. Traces of alien green whizzing above the lawn light up the night. I stand and stare. Get on the agric alert. Jane, get on the agric alert. I watch her face. She's never used words like that. Snap out of it, Jay, for God's sake. Another whizzing sound is followed by an explosive thump, followed by a whining sound. Shit, I told him to get that bastard fence up, Mum shouts. The sounds tear through my chest and I throw myself across the floor to the north side of the lounge, where Dad has set up the radio equipment, at the same time catching sight of John wide-eyed in the doorway in his pyjamas. Hanging loosely by his right side is his gun. Oh my God, John, lie on. Her words are lost in the racket of automatic gunfire going off very, very close. There are pinging sounds and then the glass around us begins to shatter. Mum starts firing, her shoulders jerking backwards with each round. The weird light makes Mum in the room look like black and white film flickering in the darkness of a cinema. John dives under the table near me. He points his gun in Mum's direction. Don't worry, Mum, I've got my gun too, he calls out. I'm leaning over the radio trying to figure it out. It feels like ice has been wiped over my brain. A little red light flashes on and off and then I catch on. I put down the Uzi and the magazine on the table and pick up the radio. Get down, Jay, get down, lie on the floor, Mum screams. I duck under the table with the radio. In front of me, bits of the window explode as the bullets hit. The glass comes down on Mum like jagged rain lit up in the white light. Mum continues to return fire. I put my arm over John's head. The racket of automatic gunfire comes and comes. Another slice of window comes down like a guillotine, landing near Mum's ankle. When the firing stops, John wriggles on his stomach towards Mum, dragging his gun by his side. I drag him back by his ankles. Let me go, Jay. No ways, man, you're staying here. The firing starts again. Crouching, I shuffle my body forwards, holding the radio and the Uzi. For a moment, the veranda is all lit up again as if by lightning. The noise is so loud, it's like being sucked into a thunderstorm. Sweat trickles a trail down the inside of my arm. I wipe it on my nightie and start to speak into the radio. A crackling sound follows, and then a woman's voice says, "Whiskey 7, how do you read?" My mind is a blank screen. They're shooting at us, I say. Small arms fire or mortar, rocket. Over, the woman replies. I don't know, there's lots of different noises. Too loud, I can't tell. There's lots of men with guns, John shouts from behind me. There's lots of men with guns. Oh, and earlier I think I heard a rocket. We're under attack from the northeast, Mum shouts. They're raining down on us from the north, small arms fire, rockets and mortar. We'll alert the security forces, the woman says. Over. From the other side of the lounge, Mum still fires into the darkness. A thud shakes the ground, followed by an explosion. A deep noise wraps around me, followed by an unbearable ringing in my ears. Putting the radio on the table, I grab the magazine and slide back down onto the floor, taking the Uzi with me. Don't look up, Jay. Keep your head on the ground, Mum yells, glancing round. I look up again. I've told them, Mum, I shout. I've told them. She doesn't seem to hear me as she fires out into the night. Shards of glass fly all around her like spirit dragonflies. Then, like an interval in a film, the noise stops. A ghost appears in the lounge doorway. It's Granny Rose in her long white nightie, her grey hair wild down her back. She's holding Grandpa Patrick's rifle in her hands. Blasts of automatic gunfire begin again. For pity's sake, Granny Rose, get down, Mum shouts, her gun juddering on the windowsill. Granny Rose ignores Mum and starts walking slowly from the doorway towards the lounge windows. With each step, she fires out into the darkness, straight through the lounge windows and out beyond the veranda. For a while, the noise of her gun is lost in the racket. Then the firing from outside stops. Granny Rose doesn't stop firing until she runs out of ammo. Then she turns and walks slowly back through the doorway, her bare feet crunching slightly on the broken glass. A thin trail of smoke rises from the end of her gun. Bloody cheek, she says over her shoulder. Get over here, Jane, Mum shouts, loading a magazine into her FN. I snap my eyes from Granny Rose to Mum. On your knees, Mum shouts again. I crawl over to her, followed by John belly crawling. He crouches on the other side of Mum from me, the end of his gun sticking up above the windowsill like a funnel. Keep your head below the windowsill, she says, when I get to her. She grabs the Uzi and flicks the switch from S to R. Keep it on single shot, Mum says. Don't switch to automatic, you won't handle it. Don't open fire unless you actually see them. She gives the gun back. Her huge eyes, their irises masked by massive pupils, drill into mine. Do you understand, Jay? I watch her hands on the FN. They're shaking slightly. Only if you see them. She hands the gun to me. Dad's shown me how to fire an Uzi, so I flick the selector to automatic. My hands are jumping up and down on my lap. I stare at them, trying to make them stop. Something cold and hard settles inside me. Don't forget to keep squeezing with safety, Mum says. Are they there yet, Mum? John asks. No, darling, Mum says. They might not come, John, I say. Hey, Mum. Yeah, darling, they might not come, Mum says, looking at me. For a moment, she frightens me. I imagine that she's dead, a zombie. I try to think of the pictures I think I can see in her. I try not to think of the pictures I think I can see in her eyes. I think something moved, Mum, John says. Over there. They spill down the copy, 6 or 7 of them, like the cast of a horror film. When Mum opens fire, they're lit up for a second. They're dressed in suits, trousers and t-shirts. One of them is wearing a long coat and sunglasses with a bobble hat. Then they scatter like leaves in a storm of gunfire. I'm firing too, the gun juddering in my hands as I try to keep my grip from slipping. Shells are flying from the chamber of the gun, smoking and clinking as they hit the floor. I only stop firing when the noise in my right ear stops and Mum lays a hand on my arm. John puts his gun down. I think we shot them, Mum. His eyes are big, glowing out of his pale face. Then he stares back out of the window. I don't want to see his face, its trickle of blood leaking from his hairline, or hear his voice, so I put my hands over my ringing ears. I can still hear noise. Noises like cupped hands clapping my ears. I huddle, trying to screw myself up in a ball, still hearing the guns, though I know no one is firing. Mum's arm on my back feels like sandpaper rubbing on my skin. I wriggle till she takes it away, then burrow into the cold floor. Shit, I need a drink, Mum's words fire into the silence. Shit, I need a drink, she says again. I cannot bear the noise of her voice. I lift my head. Can you stop it, Mum? Don't speak. Please don't speak. I look down again. A dark pool spreads out from under Mum's legs. Mum, you're all cut. Mum straightens her legs. She licks the palm of her hand and swipes at the backs of her legs. They're just superficial little cuts, she says, clicking another magazine into place. But the blood keeps coming. The noise of her voice hurts. Mum smiles at me with her mouth. Her eyes flash and dart around like torchlights from me to the garden outside, to John, from left to right. I train my eyes to see over the lawn. I try to stop forming shapes with my eyes, to just see flat darkness. Are they coming again, Mum? Will we have to shoot again? I don't think so, John. But we'll wait and see? Yes, we'll wait and see. The ticking of the grandfather clock seems to get louder and louder. I concentrate on the ticks to stop myself from hearing other noises that I'm not sure coming from outside or inside my head. The sky is changing from ink black to navy blue, and the mountains across the valley are beginning to show their humpbacks. We wait. Behind us the house creaks, and I count the hours. Each time the clock chimes, we jump and snatch up our guns. It's only the clock, Mum says. The thought of them coming up behind us makes my stomach shudder. I force my eyes out over the lawn again. Every time the flamboyant tree quivers, my finger curls tighter on the trigger. Mum and John stare out over the lawn. A greenish vein flickers like a tiny blind snake in the milky white of Mum's cold-looking temple. For a minute I think she's dead, so I shift slightly so that Mum says quietly, "Steady, Jay, we'll get through this." And then the noise of the clock seems to be lost in the hum of the bleeding night. John continues to stare out the window. Now his eyes are glazed and his head tips downwards. He jolts it back and screams, "What's happening? Mum, what's happening?" "Please shut him up, Mum, please," I say. "Calm down, Jay, just stay calm. We can get through this if we stay calm." Mum has her arm around John. "It's okay, John, you fell asleep." Shh. An owl hoots. Mum and I snatch up our guns. John says, "Are they coming back?" "No, John, I don't think so." "They're not coming, Jay, they're not coming." "Yeah, I know," I say. "Please be quiet."
Okay, what happens next?
Well, you'll have to buy the book to find out. So no pressure, but feel free, feel compelled. Feel free to buy the book if you'd like. I know many of you have bought the book already. I'll be signing books at the table. Christmas is coming, and there are plenty of other books as well. If you'd like to, look at the other books and perhaps buy another book. Thank you so much for coming. Have another drink. I'll be at the table.
Thank you.
Thank
I was really tempted to ruin the video there, yeah. Sorry.